Hey y'all, it's me. I'm hoping that I'll be making videos more regularly again. And today I wanted to just be normal. I had thought, maybe I should talk about just the devastation here in our community. Hugh and I and Chelsea, we barely got hit at all, and it's just incredible how little damage we had when the communities around us got so much. We are surrounded by all these little ridges, and we're kind of in a bowl here. The trees are on a ridge also, and so we were really kind of protected from the wind. The rain, if it had came down in a specific area, obviously it could have washed us much worse. But it didn't come down right over our little valley, and we don't really have any water running through our property. We have a couple of little natural weather springs, or wet weather springs. But yeah, it's incredible. All of our little white covers flew off, and we will be pulling these out, rinsing them off, letting them dry. We'll just pull them over here in the field, and then we'll be starting again. This time I don't think we'll have to worry about them blowing off again, simply because we're going to bury the upper end in dirt all the way down, and then the lower end will be attaching with these little clips. You can see the little clothespin clips that I used with just some foam rubber, and they're really very snug. I think if those go down one side and the other side is buried with dirt, that these will easily withstand the winter. They just were not able to withstand 70-mile-an-hour winds. The most we'll get this winter will be 30 mile an hour during a storm, or at least that's typical. But look at this, y'all. We've got to, before we cover them over, we've got to get in here with our little hoop hose and get some weeds out. But it's pretty incredible how few of our little guys got broken. You can see there's some areas that were broken. Look at these snaps. I mean, my goodness, they're ready to bloom. They're not supposed to be blooming, but they will die back. And now that their roots are in place, they should come back strong this spring. And yeah, I'm pleased that these beds survived. Not as well as we would like for them to have. Obviously there's missing spaces, but and this over here, we direct sowed these, and you can see where a lot of the seed washed when we were keeping them wet. So I'm going to come down here when we clean the weeds out. I'm going to separate them and replant them in their little rows, and hopefully their little roots will reattach and make them happy. But yeah. And I know, it's such a hard place to know what to do right now. There's people that are just struggling so badly, and should we all just be focusing on that? I know that Hugh and I even feel, since we've gotten our internet connection back, we just come to the place where we feel so overwhelmed that we think we don't want to watch one more second of this. And not that we don't want to help. We definitely want to help. But you can become just so inundated with it that sometimes your heart just needs a little bit of a rest. And we are in a place where we can get a little bit of a rest, and that makes me feel guilty. It makes me feel guilty that, we don't have to look around us and witness the devastation every minute of every day. My goodness. But, y'all, know that even though I'm going to just start putting just normal everyday videos up again, that we're not discounting what people are dealing with, and we're not just keeping our heads in the dirt and ignoring everything around us. We're not. But it almost feels like we also need to offer a little bit of normal. Speaking of normal, you see those? You see these? Those are deer track. Down there too. So we've got to get everything covered over pretty soon, because once our little deer friends find our luscious little tender flowers, they'll probably decide to come and munch on them. The weather's supposed to start getting cooler here pretty quickly also. These are bachelor's buttons, and here again you can see how they washed, because these were all direct sown. We have one row that the seeds stayed perfectly where they needed to, and another row over here where they just kind of slid down the hill. So again, I'm going to try to just transplant them so they can take root in a better location. And yeah, these guys all look happy. And these guys look happy. Having them in these little raised beds, and they're just raised maybe 5-6 inches at the most. But that kept them up out of just the unbelievable amount of water that came down last week, and gave them a chance to survive. The interesting thing with the raised beds is that in wet weather, you're in bad shape, because they'll just set where they're just set in mud. They'll just set in mud, and usually they won't survive. But in dry weather, you're in a better place, because they're with the beds being raised, that gives them a chance to drain a little better. But I see it this way: the raised beds can be managed more easily, because we can give them a drink, even though it's a lot of work watering them every day or every other day in really dry season. There's some more deer track. But in wet weather, you have no way of protecting them. So for those of you who are home gardeners, you might want to consider that. Our weather is just so crazy right now, and see no reason that that's going to change anytime soon, unfortunately. We all just need to make the adjustments that we can, and obviously you're limited on the adjustments that you can make, because nobody can withstand 70-mile-an-hour winds inland and water rushing down the side of a mountain. So that statement is not intended to say that we can make ourselves foolproof, because we cannot. We are at the mercy of nature. And I'll just tell y'all right up front, we do believe that man has an involvement in climate change. We believe that the world is in a cycle, that it heats and cools and heats and cools, but we also have an impact on it. And that little impact that we have on it, of a degree or two, can mean the difference between these kind of horrific storms that can just wipe out. And right now, the southeast, it is so widespread, y'all. It is so widespread that nobody has ever seen this before. The storm was ginormous. So I just want to encourage any of you that still believe that climate change is a hoax to spend a bit of time just researching the facts. Even though, like I said, even though we do have a cyclical cycle. I'm walking, I'm sinking up really deep in this. I've got on sandals too. You can see how deep I'm sinking. They're taking dirt up, trying to repair something. But even though the world does have a cyclical heating and cooling time frame, it would not be nearly as bad as it is without man's negligence. So whether we believe it or not, you can deny it all day long. Doesn't keep it from being true. But that's my little scientific point for the day. I'm not a scientist. As a matter of fact, it's pretty interesting, because I have been reading a book on soil health that's supposed to be written for gardeners by a man, I think his first name is John, his last name is Pavlis, Pavlis. Any of you that are gardeners that would love to get some really good information, this guy has it to offer. He's brilliant. And for the most part, he explains everything in such a way that I can understand it to a degree. I told Chelsea, I said, I really think that you're going to have to read the book as well, because there are so many points that go directly over my head. And even rereading it several times, it's like, what was it he just said? And so I know that he's not writing it at an upper level for scientific readers or scientists, but I just struggle to understand anything that's written in the slightest degree technically. But y'all, the fact that we survived this and have probably, I'm going to say 70% of what we set out a month and a half ago still living, this is incredible. So we can clean these beds out now, get them covered over for winter. We'll leave one side, like I said, accessible so we can raise and lower, keep them from getting too warm under these cloths when it's still warm outside. But they'll be protected from wind and deer pressure. And I think this spring we're going to have a nice little selection of cool season hardy annuals. And now I am going to make one more request of y'all. For those of you who have listened this far, love you much. I really appreciate you guys. But I had received some information when we were still just in the early days of this situation, and not getting everything that we needed as far as news from the outside world. I was getting from a dear family member just this horrific idea that this Biden administration was not providing what was needed here in the Southeast, and that they were withholding help from the red states. I want y'all to know that that is a lie. There is nothing further from the truth. If you have a chance to go on the Phoenix Acres Facebook page, Chelsea did a write-up. Having served in emergency management or emergency medical services for more than a decade, she herself was responsible at times for writing, I'm not sure what it's called, but just the details for a planned emergency, in an emergency situation, the action steps needed. And she wrote a really good little post explaining how actually what we saw here was the fastest response of the federal government that she had ever saw or ever seen. I'm sure I'm fuzzy. But no, our government is not withholding help from anybody. This storm is so massive that it's going to take a minute. I don't care who is in office. This is not going to be fixed overnight, y'all. And for this former president to be out spreading lies and rumors, it's abhorrent. It's abhorrent. If I had ever had any, and I wouldn't vote for him for any reason, but if I had ever had a reason to think I would vote for him, the fact that he is stirring up crap in such a horrific time is enough for me to see his character as being horrendous. Don't want a man or woman that has such a foul character in office. And a whole lot of you might get mad at me after this statement and unsubscribe. And you know that I tried to keep everything. When it was the encouragement circle, I tried to keep everything non-political. And on Phoenix Acres, we try to keep everything non-political. But this is a special circumstance. And y'all need to know the truth from those of us that we're not struggling with the devastation like so many are. But we do know what's going on in our area. And the lies being spoken by someone that should know better is despicable. All right, for those of you who choose to leave our channel because you can't stomach our opinions, I love you still. I wish you the best, and I hope that life is really, really good to you. For those of you who stay regardless of our opinions or because of our opinions, we love you as well, and we'll be putting out more video content hopefully every day. And when I've actually combed my hair, I might turn the camera around and say hello. Right now Chelsea is working on our computer stuff. And in just a little while, we're going to come out and start getting these beds cleaned up and covered over. But know that you are loved. Those of you who are still in this storm-ravaged area, which is a great deal of the Southeast, please be safe. Those of you who have lost family, my heart goes out to you so desperately, so desperately. And I wish that there were words of comfort that I could offer. Having lost a precious, precious son ourselves, I know that there's not a whole lot of words that can help, but know that we care. It helped us knowing that people cared. So know that we care. Please be safe. Love you. Bye.